Hey everybody. Hey, it's nice. How you doing, Bible? Nice to see you. Welcome to Thursday night and pre-Oakland Alameda County Coliseum Joint Powers Authority lease talk um, that we're going to have because tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum Joint Powers Authority will meet to discuss the proposed new lease extension with the Oakland Raiders. Okay, and so tonight I am here to basically talk with people about that, answering questions you may have, um, and just wax on and not wax on, wax off, wax on about what should happen, what might happen, what should not happen, what the ideal outcome might be. Hear your thoughts, questions, concerns. Oh, and then of course there's all that, also the ongoing Vegas talk, because by the way, they are building a new stadium in Las Vegas called the Las Vegas Stadium right now, because they don't have a naming rights agreement for it yet. All right, and that's pretty much where we're at. It's a Thursday night. Um, I'm not going to be on for a long time, but what we're going to do is I'm going to flesh out for you the agenda. Okay, and well, first of all, so one thing I'm going to do is switch browsers while I'm talking to everybody, and so I can go to the Chrome browser. The Chrome browser is much better to use. Now, you might be wondering how we got here. In other words, what happened that got us to a point where we are now on the eve of negotiating a lease extension that under normal circumstances would have happened last year. Okay? Right now, the Raiders are playing without a lease extension. And if things went south all of a sudden, guess what? They could find themselves without a home after this season. Now, at this point, given the work that Oakland Alameda County Coliseum Joint Powers Authority Executive Director Scott McKibben and Oakland Raiders President Mark Bedane have done, that's not likely to happen right now. But, you know, as is said about many things in life, you just never know until you go out there and try. And then you deal with the pitfalls along the way. That is precisely what stares Scott McKibben in the face. Scott has taken a roller coaster ride with this thing. And it started last year when I was there, and you can relive my being there here at Zenny 62 if you click on Oakland Raiders Las Vegas live stream, and you can see the live streams that I made at the 2017 NFL annual meeting, that or the press conference where the Raiders were granted that right, and you can hear the question that I asked Mark Davis, among other things. Um, and of course, if you are such a masochist as I am at times, to want to do that sort of thing. But what happened at that point was there were a number of elected officials, most notably Larry Reed, who wanted the Raiders out. He wanted the Raiders gone. A number of fans wanted the Raiders gone. Forever Oakland, we stand with Oakland. There was a lot of anger, right? There was a lot of anger looking for a release. And the best release, many Raider fans felt, spelled Lawsuit. Hey, John Marks, how you doing? Hey, say hi to Bible, John Marks. That's how they felt. And so there was a lot of faith put in what Forever Oakland and We Stand with Oakland might do, forgetting for the moment that, you know what? the ultimate authority was, well, the Coliseum Joint Powers Authority, okay? And that was because they are actually the only organization that has what's called legal standing to file a lawsuit. Although the fans do too, but the fans at the time didn't have enough money to really pay the lawyers absent getting litigation financing. But even then, the decision that Ray Bobbitt and company and Grizz Jones made collectively was to, well, rest their expectations on the JPA, which I felt was a bad idea then. So predictably, and I wrote a long email saying, hey, you know what? They're not going to do what you want to do, okay? They're not going to do what you want to do. At all. At all. So you're better off gearing yourself up for the worst because they're going to blindside you. And oh no, we got it all done. Oh no. Oh no, no, no. Okay? And got mad at me for bringing it up and everything. And even with that, I said, and then I said, you know what? It's not going to happen for you, okay? And of course, the day came, and I was there, and the JPA voted no. And boy, oh boy, I remember Ray Bobbitt was just, Ray was mad because Ray spent something like, I think $40,000 to that point of his own money. And so he, $40,000. So I remember, if you've ever been to the Oracle Arena down at the bar area, like there's a hallway to get to the BMW room, and there's this bar area, and there's the exit, right? Okay. So anyway, Ray Bobbitt was at the exit trying to talk to Larry, and Larry, I think, was really afraid of Ray. Ray Bobbitt's a big guy, okay? And Ray was, I mean, you could tell he was just tense. He was like, oh, he wanted to hit something. And that's not his nature, okay? But he wanted to hit something. And he was mad. I mean, just as, like Jose Lopez here says, when the move was granted, I was bummed out for a week, but I'm over it now. Don't care if they move, and I didn't renew my season tickets. So there you go. There you go. And so, Ray's a good guy. Ray Bobbitt's a great guy. And I remember in trying to diffuse the situation, I said to Ray, I said to Bobbitt, I said, hey, you know what? Hold on a second. I said, Larry, is the reason why you don't want to sue because you're afraid that if we lose, we would have to pay fees we can't afford? He goes, that's exactly what I'm afraid of. Okay. So, and what he was looking at was something that Jim Quinn, the attorney, then had told him, hey, you know what? Here's the upside and here's the downside. That's what happened. But undeterred, Ray kept talking to people, and then they got a break. Everybody got a collective break, and the collective break came in something beyond everyone's control. St. Louis suing the NFL regarding Rams relocation survived a major milestone where it could have either sank or swam. It swam. And that milestone was the NFL filing a motion to dismiss, and the motion was rejected because of the finding that by the judge that the relocation agreements that had been referred to by many fans, myself, you, and numbers of others, right, constituted a valid contract. I repeat, constituted a valid contract that one could allege the NFL itself did not follow. How big is that, right? So when that point came out and rang across the country and around the world, right? It was huge. Yeah, absolutely. As John Sanders was huge. Absolutely. It's completely huge, okay? That changed everything. Everything, all right? Everything. John Marks asks, is Oakland going to sue the Raiders? I'm getting to that. That changed everything, okay? And so what happened was that John Santos saying it was a game changer. Absolutely right, John. It was a game changer is probably the understatement of the year, right? It was a game changer. And so now every attorney just hungry, just salivating, right? Hey, I want to take this. But guess what? I want to take, they would say, on a contingency. In other words, you don't pay me, and we just sail right along. Isn't that cool? Okay. And John Marks says game changers when St. Louis got granted to sue the NFL and the Rams. That's what I'm talking about. Well, actually, what it really was it wasn't so that they're granted the right to sue. What they were, because they sued anyway. No one has to grant you the right to sue anybody. You just sue, okay? But what they were granted was the motion to dismiss the file that was filed by the NFL was rejected. The motion could have been accepted, and that would have been all she wrote. But no. The judge said, hey, look, the NFL relocation bylaws are our contract. And so you can go ahead with it, and they can go ahead with suing all of the NFL teams and joining them, okay? All right? So, hey, PJ, do me a favor. Pay attention, man. Stop making it about yourself, all right? Listen up. So anyway, the whole point is that we got a situation now, which took us a long time to get to. We went from, and John Santos knows what I'm talking about. Everybody here knows what I'm talking about, all right? Okay? All right? So my point is that where we're at right here is tomorrow the board has a huge day, all behind closed doors. Part of it has to do with the Warriors and arbitration regarding the bond issue. Hey, Joseph Bensman, how you doing? The other part of it concerns the XFL, which is great news, which you talked about that. And the other part of it has to do with this Raider lease issue. Now, after leaving McKibben hanging for a long time, the Raiders in the form of Bedain finally about 2 months ago started working with him. And if you start adding up the dates, that's about right after Bedain got all of his documents signed with respect to the Las Vegas Stadium Authority, right? And they worked in secret. They never discussed anything to the media. Well, it's not quite true. Let me just say that some of the media types agreed to not publish certain information even to this point, okay? That helps them, all right? So that helps them, okay? And so they talked. At first, the original agreement had the Raiders paying something like $10 million if it went out to like 2020. Or $8 million, I think, at 2019. The new agreement, which I haven't seen yet, pulls back that amount. I don't know by how much. And it has the Raiders, and what I'm telling you right now is not even in the text that I wrote that's connected to this. That's on my new blog, oaklandnewsnow.com. But the new one has the Raiders paying into a bunch of different charities. I don't know how that spread's going to work, but it's a lot more of a spread of the wealth kind of a lease agreement. And it has an option. And the option is, yeah, John Marks, pay attention. Come on, man. The option is basically this. If the Raiders Las Vegas lease doesn't go through, okay, if the Raiders stadium doesn't get built in timely fashion, okay, uh, then the Raiders can stick around the Coliseum for an extra year. Beyond that, they are renegotiated again and again. All right. So that's the talk tomorrow. Tomorrow, in less than 24 hours, we'll have a picture of where the Raiders are going to be and where the city is going to be. Now, to answer your question, John Marks, about a lawsuit, okay? Here's the way things go, because John was saying we don't want them. Well, actually, there's some of us who do want the Raiders. I mean, I'll tell you where I'm at, okay? I am at this place. Keep them here. And the reason why I say that is because of my feeling. And this is just a feeling. And I know people hate when I say this because they think I'm trying to give them hope. I'm not trying to give you hope. I'm being honest with you. This deal involving the Raiders in Las Vegas is still not done. In other words, look, the NFL just set a very quiet milestone. In fact, you know what? I think I'm going to, blog about that. And the milestone is that, and they did this at the NFL Spring League meeting, Las Vegas and the Raiders became the first NFL city and team combination for a new stadium that was not granted a Super Bowl. Do you realize that? Do you realize that? They have no Super Bowl. And no one knows when they're going to get one. When I talked to Peter O'Reilly about that, okay? Yeah, thanks, Eric. I thought when I talked to Peter O'Reilly about that, and did anybody see my video interview with Peter O'Reilly? If you say no, I'll show it to you right now. No is with an N, yes is with a yes, okay? John Mark says, I don't want to play devil's advocate, but I will say this. The deal is so bad, what are they going through it? It makes no sense. John Santos just showed. Okay, John, I'm going to show it right now. This is my interview with Peter O'Reilly at the NFL Spring League meeting on Las Vegas and the Super Bowl and why there was no Super Bowl talk, okay? And why Las Vegas didn't grant one. And I asked him if it had to do with the parking issue. And this is what I got back. Excuse me. This is what Peter said to me when we talked, okay? And I asked him that right after I asked if Oakland could submit a bid to host the NFL draft, okay? So let me get this situated.
Right. Stomachs growl. Secure your late night cravings with original
Here we go.
crystals. Even better, get these steamy, savory favorites for a value that can't be beat. It's the perfect late night meal for two, or a very hungry one. Only in Crystal.
Good side.
All right, here we go, folks. Hold on to your butts.
Is always a factor, but not necessarily a driving factor in this decision, given the power of Nashville as a destination
That kind of
market.
goes without
Peter, I'm
saying,
curious,
too.
even though
Zanny, how are you?
there's a transition between Oakland and Las Vegas, can Oakland still bid for a draft or partner with San Francisco?
Yeah, there's certainly an openness there to, we will go out to all cities again this summer for an expression of interest. Clearly, the Raiders are focused on Las Vegas as a potential draft destination. I'm going to be working with them on that. But nothing is off the table in terms of where the draft might go down the line.
It kind of goes without
Follow up,
saying.
if I can get a quick follow up in with respect to Las Vegas and the Super Bowl. Is there an issue with parking? What would you like to see out of Las Vegas with respect to a Super Bowl presentation, if you will?
I think it's too early to talk about any of those specifics because we really haven't started any process for Super Bowls 59 or beyond. The focus here is really on 57 and 58, and the only work we've done to date with Las Vegas has been related to the draft.
What were some of the other decisions?
All right, so there we go. And that's, that was my that was my conversation. That was one of two conversations I had with Peter at the NFL Spring League meeting. The other one was specifically about Las Vegas and the draft, but that one had to do with the Super Bowl. And my point is that, no, this was a month ago here in Atlanta. No, and as you heard him say, they haven't even begun to think about it. Now, I didn't drill Peter as to why that was, because it's not. Well, first of all, it's not necessary to be antagonistic about it. Second of all, he works for the owners, and there's a relationship dance you got to do in order to maintain a good line of communication and get the right information, right, and report it back to you, okay? So I can get that kind of exchange, right? And the bottom line is, whatever the details aside for the moment, they have left that on the back burner. Now, he said we haven't even gotten to that point yet. Okay. So, Eric Guerrero says share it on Facebook. Hey, Eric, thank you very much, man. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Tell him to come on in. And so John Mark says Mark Davis clearly wants out of Oakland, and his yes man is Mark Bedane. I think it's more the other, like they're like that. Like Mark is doing a lot of he's doing a lot of the legwork, but that's another story. Bible study says, man, he gave you all on the Vegas grief. He didn't give you anything on Oakland. Well, that's not true. He answered my question. I have 2 interviews with him. I have this one, and he said that Oakland would be open to submitting an NFL bid. I have this one, and I have a bunch of interviews with Peter. These are just 2 of them, okay? But John Santos says, World Cup not going to happen. Vegas cost is too great. Yeah, and I read that in the Review Journal, John and Santos, and I found was interesting that they didn't give any specifics other than costs. In other words, okay, what cost? What would the price tag be that would lead you to, consider that this thing is too expensive and therefore you're pulling your bid? It sounds to me like there's another story there. I'm just saying it doesn't sound exactly cut and dry, all right? You know what I mean? And G. Taylor, how you doing? Taylor says, how are you? And so, G, I'm going to take that subject. I'm not going to deal with that tonight because it's off the topic. This is, hey, look, this is more important than that. Lopez says, what are the chances of Oakland getting an NFL team in the future? And, that's the question of the day, okay? And the reason why I say that is Cisco says, we know the lawsuit is for money owed to Oakland and Alameda County by the Raiders in the NFL. Is keeping the brand here in Oakland a part of the lawsuit? Let me tell you something. As I know it right now, that's not, okay? But on the other hand, I'm not sure of that. I know that there are people who want to go in that direction. I know there are people like myself, and when I say this to you, since I haven't seen it, what you're hearing is my bias against that approach. I'm going to be 1,000,000% honest with you. The problem with this, and I've talked about it before, is that people want to jump to the conclusion of what to get rather than focus on the nitty-gritty of how we got there. In other words, how the Raiders basically acted not in good faith, okay? Now, some of you are saying, well, Zinni, we know that. Let's talk about what we want to get. I get you, okay? All right? I get that. I mean, I know you, okay? I mean, G. Taylor, I know you're thinking that. I know all of you are thinking like, because all of you want the name. You want blood. Am I right? You want blood to flow is what you want. And in your view, blood flowing is in the city of Oakland having the name. It's basically, I mean, it's like, right? Blood and guts. Like Kevin KD, blood and guts. That's what you want. You want, I mean, you're not the kind that want their balls. No. You don't want that. You want the whole enchilada, right? He's like, you know what? You're mine, damn it. That's it. That's what, okay? And I feel you. I feel you. All right? I feel you. The problem that I have with that approach, and this is my bias. I'm not speaking for anybody connected with the JPA or the city of Oakland or anybody else, but this is my thought, or Rebecca Kaplan or anybody else. My thought is this, that we are owed. You go for what you know you have on paper that you can get. There's a relocation fee, and it looks like from one angle of some attorneys that, hey, all this happened to enrich the NFL owners. So therefore, boom, give us the $370 million that you were going to give to the Raiders, you were going to give to the NFL. You give that to us. A. B. And this is my thought, which others have agreed with, that, hey, you know what? We've gone through this route twice. We've got $64 million that we gave the Raiders, which they called an Army Recourse loan, but the Supreme Court in 2005 in California called a payment to the NFL that then the Raiders tried to have, right? And hold that thought for 1 second. I've got to hold that thought for 1 second, okay? Because I've got to get this. What call it? I need to. Yeah, I'm on Livestream. Hello. Anyway, okay. So anyway, my point is that that's life. My point is that yeah, I'm on Livestream. Can I call you back? Okay, I gotta go though. Okay, nice. Yeah, all right. Anyway, my point is that, folks, this is in real life, in real time. That's how you handle things. You just deal with it as part of the show. Okay, it's funny how there's some people in broadcast television, they try a live stream, and their kids walk in, everything, they get flustered, like, the kids. It's part of life. Just bring the kids to the show. Whatever. My point is this. Okay. That we were my point is that if we try to go after the name and the logo, we stand less of a chance of getting it from one reason. The Raiders were in Los Angeles. So if you're going to claim eminent domain and, image, what do you say about the Raiders being in Los Angeles? No one has been able to answer that question. And I'm telling you, that will rear its head. That will rear its head, okay? I'm not feeling that myself at all. At all. As John Santos just wrote, the lawsuit will be for damages. Yeah. And that's, you know what? That is not only logical, it's measurable. We've got two ledgers that have numbers on them. We've got the relocation fee, it's $370 million. We've got the $64 million payment, which we still call a loan. And I'm saying I'm talking about the Coliseum Joint Powers Authority and the financial advisors. They call it a non-recourse loan, but it's not a perfect non-recourse loan. We can't actually get it back because of the Supreme Court decision. But they wrote in black and white, did the financial advisors for the Coliseum, that we've never, as an organization, figured out how to get the money back. Not that we can't. Never said it wasn't recoverable, period, full stop. No. We just never figured out how to do it. And we still haven't, to my knowledge. I was trying to tell someone whose name I can't mention on this that I blew a gasket because this is an official who I thought should know this sort of thing, who actually didn't, but wanted to shine me on as if this person did, which really bothered me. It just really bothered me, okay? So I'm going to read your comments now. John Mark says, can we go after the Oakland Invaders? And we'll have to create them. And John Santos says, there's a chance the lawsuit could push the NFL into granting another team in Oakland if a lawsuit is dropped. I agree, John. And that's why I think we should go forward, because, look, it's not a matter of revenge. It's a matter of needing a kind of arbitration environment, a court, to settle and properly adjudicate all of these alleged acts of bad faith. there's a lot of water under that bridge that we're just sort of sitting, we're just watching it go, whoosh, whoosh, you know what I mean? And so John Mark says, yeah, John Santos. Kevin Gahidi says, I think it's safe to say that the fortunes, destinations, and ultimately the destination of the Oakland Raiders would be different if Davis sold the team a while back. Oh, unquestionably. And remember, there was a thought that he was going to do that. But I think what happened with Mark was Mark, and I really believe this, I think Mark got pissed off with people laughing at him. Which is why, one reason why I don't. Because as a person who's been ostracized a lot, you know, you're the African-American guy who people think, he thinks he knows why they laugh at him because people are not used to us being like that, right? They're not used to, people are not used to being to the black guy being the guy that he thinks he knows everything in the room. It's usually a mantle that is given to a white guy or a white guy's allowed to have. But a person like me, people didn't hate it. That's less true today, which is a sign of progress, than it was. But my point is, hey, that's my feeling was, you know what? We have to, I have an answer, and here's what I think the answer is, okay? Now, there's an interesting comment here by Philly Born. He says, yeah, I think that's a great idea for Oakland to keep the Raiders' name and let Vegas have the team blueprint worked out. But see, here's my point, okay? And John Santos said it correctly about damages, that you sue for damages. The team name and everything, that, you know, that comes in a settlement. That's how Cleveland got it. Cleveland, the city of Cleveland and the Browns, you know, didn't wind up keeping the Browns by court order. That was a settlement. They didn't go to court and the judge says, oh, you got to do this, okay? So guess what? The Cleveland idea was never proven in court. The Cleveland idea was never proven in court. So there's this thought out there that, oh, this can work. I don't really know. What you want to do is go for something bigger. You want to go for the money. You go for the money, you get that stuff. Because when people lose in court, all kinds of interesting situations turn up that, you know, you probably didn't forecast, and certainly I didn't either, right? Philly Born says, I got that. Let me get the other comments here. He says, Malcontent. Hey, Malcontent. Malcontent says, restitution is over revenge. Get their money. Exactly. John Mark says, agreed, Philly, but it's not happening. I think John Mark's saying to Philly Born that that keeping the Raiders' name is, you know, I don't know if that's not happening. All I'm saying, John, is I don't think you get there by asking for that directly. I think you get for the money. And when you start, look, when you start going through the many times that the Raiders have not acted in good faith with respect to the city of Oakland, you start going through that, I'm telling you, those dollars are going to add up. And if it's in a jury trial, I guarantee you the jury is going to want to tack something onto that. When they hear all the crap that has been done, going back to 2011, when Mr. Davis, Mark came in charge, when they go back that far, and when they read the ESPN account that talked about the secret meeting, what better proof that this whole thing was not done in good faith than a magazine article of all things on a website that says secret meetings done by the Raiders, basically because they didn't want the city of Oakland to find out, the county of Alameda, right? So, all right, Malcontent has it right. Restitution is greater than revenge. Get their money. I'm pointing at what this is what I'm pointing at, folks, right here, okay? See that? See that? And then John, okay, all right? And then John Santos says, I think Mark is trying to get out of California before the passing of Carroll due to the death tax. You know, I've heard a lot of people say that. And, yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that. And I think that it's maybe part of that, but I think the real reason they're trying to get out isn't so much to try to get out as I'm going to tell you something, okay? And folks aren't going to like my saying this, but it's a fact. The Raiders are going to make a shitload of money in Las Vegas off that stadium if it's done right. And the key, okay, all right, because it's Vegas, all right, and the key, all right, the key, and not only that is let me be more succinct. It's not just that it's Vegas, but Las Vegas has never had a facility like that. You're talking about what, 1 million square feet of, you know, free and clear space that in another scenario, the convention center, the Convention and Visitors Authority should have some control over, but I don't think Sean Adelson wants that. Okay, but all right. Eric Guerrero says, there's a difference, Zinni. A man, Mr. Al Davis, and a rat of a man, as Eric Guerrero says. He says he's running away from the problem instead of fixing and earning a spot as a Davis. John Santos says, yeah, the ESPN article is bad for the Raiders. John Marks says, let him go. Malkinson says, the people of the city of Oakland do not have a legal claim on the Raiders' name and logo. Z is right. If you get it, that would be in settlement. That's all I'm saying. Because that's what happened with Cleveland. And yet what bothers me is these reporters keep fanning that out there like it's candy. Oh, eat this, you know, and then have some pablum, little baby. You'll love it, you know. Intellectual pablum is what it is. Well, intellectual, let me take the intellectual out of my sentence, all right? So, PJ says, hey, I'll see you, PJ. All right. Have a great night. God bless you. John says, so do you think there's going to be an lease extension for 2019 and option 2020? Or I'm hearing that there is no delay and the stadium would be ready in time for the season. Well, actually, it's John, it's both, okay? The whole point, and that's the problem with how the Raiders have presented this. If you're smart, what you say is, hey, look, we're going to stay at the Coliseum 2019 with an option to extend. And that's because of the very realistic possibility that this stadium, this great stadium we're trying to build in Las Vegas, may not be finished at the time we want it to be finished. That happens. But to react with hubris as if it's not going to happen is plainly stupid. It's like, you know what it's like? It's like bending over and just putting a kick me sign on your own ass. That's what it's like. But except you're asking for God to kick you. All right? Oh, it's not going to happen. We're going to be fine. Bam! There it is. Kicked in the ass by reality. That's what good planning helps you mitigate. Bad planning is when you say, oh, well, you know, we don't need the extension. We're going to be fine. That's that. There's only one word for that. Stupid. That's it. I don't mean stupid. I mean stupid. Okay? No, I don't mean stupid. I mean stupid. Like Vinnie Barbarino kind of stupid. All right? That's what that is. Okay? And I'm saying that in the hope that there's any Raider official watching this. Don't think that way. The Raiders need to think in terms of getting, and here's the price tag. You ready? Cha-ching! $1 billion in sponsorship. You don't have that, you can't run that stadium. All right? My projections are, without a $500 million naming rights deal, you are in the red. Straight out. Because now someone's going to shoot back, well, they're going to make all these money from events. Yeah, but you know what? The events promoter takes that money, not the Raiders. Oh, they're going to make all this money off luxury boxes. You sure about that? All right. If the Raiders have to spend that naming rights agreement, and they will, on operations costs for the stadium, you know what that means? It means that that's less sponsorship money they have they can then pour into running the team. You want a clue as to where the Raiders will be in the future? You're seeing it right now. It's happening right under our collective noses. What is it? It's all of those draft picks that they got for cheap. Why were they so relentlessly trying to get draft picks for cheap? Because they don't have the money to pay anybody like normal. That's why. This is not rocket science, all right? It just isn't. Let me get back to your comments. Kevin KD says, what would the Raiders have to do to do? What, Kevin KD writes, what would the Raiders have to do right to profit enormously from the Vegas stadium? Have a gigantic naming rights agreement. Have a gigantic set of sponsorships. I'll tell you, okay? Let's say this is the stadium. This is this sugar is the stadium, right? Okay? They would have to have a naming rights agreement. Ideally, what they should have is a naming rights agreement for the stadium and then for the field, like corporate ABC Field at corporate XYZ Stadium, right? Okay, that's the first thing. You divide that up. You're looking at that's a good way to get 500 million right there. Okay, you get 300 million for the stadium, 200 million for the field, right? Then, because then you have two different names. And you can brand the field differently in terms of from a naming perspective than the stadium. A. B, brand the gates where they walk in. Like this is the Ford gate, okay? Or this is the Tesla gate, right? Or this is the Apple computer gate, right? Or this is the Amazon gate, okay? So what do those fetch you? You want, 25 million here, 25 million here, 25 million. Now, a friend of mine thinks that what the Raiders should do is just have a 10-year naming rights deal and then renegotiate after 10. But I think that's a bad idea because if you have a 10-year deal, you're not going to get as much money. And you need that money for stadium construction and operations. So you get it all up front. The best situation, the Raiders would be a dream to have, which isn't going to happen. If this happens, I will engineer a chug, okay? Let me put it this way. If this happens, I will chug a gallon of beer. Nah, not a gallon. If this happens, I'll chug 7 beer steins. Nah, 5 beer steins. I can do that. That's a lot. If this happens, I'll chug 5 beer steins because that's doable, all right? And that's fun, all right? I don't want to say something I can't do that's not fun, it's dangerous. I'll chug 5 beer steins if this happens. If they get a $700 million naming rights agreement, which is what Farmers Insurance is going to put on the LA stadium back in 2011, and they did that, and they sat there just sort of waiting, and they gained all this notoriety out of, it's a Farmers Field in LA, and it never happened. So they never had to advance the money to anybody. It was just sort of sitting there. And they let the media just be fools and say, Farmers State, Farmers Field, almost Farmers Fields, Farmers nothing. But imagine if the Raiders got that kind of deal. That would be the beginning of the end of their possible financial woes with respect to the stadium. And they would be able to clean up. Because look, yeah, the Raiders didn't get the World Cup. Vegas, that's a big blow. I mean, let's see where we're at with this. The Raiders don't have the Super Bowl, right? They haven't been granted one. They don't have the World Cup. They've got a Las Vegas Bowl that was upgraded to college game. Okay, fine. It's not the national championship, though. Let's be honest. It's not the national championship. It's not the Pac-12 championship. Let's be honest, okay? So, look, the Raiders are not batting. The batting average right now is not good. I mean, I don't care what the reasons are. Maybe it was too expensive. It would have been great for the Raiders to turn around and say, hey, the World Cup is coming to Las Vegas, because you know dang well that's what they wanted. Otherwise, they wouldn't have went after it. Why would you go after something? I'm asking this question, all right? I'll go back to your question. I don't want to miss your stuff. But why would the Raiders go after something and then not get it? Were they forced into that by somebody? I mean, consider you have a team that is so good at doing its due diligence that it knew Galen Conley didn't do that crime against that girl, but they had to prove it. So you think a team, an organization that would spend that much money doing research, wouldn't spend any money doing research on the World Cup, there's something amiss there. Somebody made them go after that. Okay? Someone made them go after that. Someone politically said, you go after this or else. And it didn't happen. All right? Okay? That made them that made the Raiders look bad. I feel for Bourdain, but you know what? They made their own bed. Right? They made their own bed. Okay? Kevin KD says, how could Vegas not get the World Cup with a new stadium being built? Strange. Very. Thank you. Joseph Bin says, before you call the Knights and you have some news that you'll be happy to know. Oh, fire away, please. John Santos says, super strange. Yeah. John Mark says, people are strange when you are, well, I don't want to say that. Why does people have to insult Mark Davis? I like Mark. Eric Guerrero says, laugh out loud. How can you agree to a Super Bowl if Oakland and Vegas is not 100% yet? Well, Eric, the whole point is you agree to Super Bowl when you know the stadium is going to be finished by a time certain, when you know they have parking issues straightened out and everything else. And the simple fact of the matter is this, and I don't care what anybody says, if the Raiders knew exactly when that thing was going to be finished, they have all these problems resolved, the NFL would have awarded them a Super Bowl. They did it with, look, they did it with Los Angeles. What more proof do you need? They've done it with every city. They've got all these cities. Los Angeles, Minnesota, okay? Atlanta, Super Bowl's here, okay? Dallas, all right? They've got all these cities that have done this. Tampa, New Orleans got it again after having that power outage problem a few years ago. And then they have all these cities that have it, and there's Las Vegas. There's something wrong. No one wants to, embarrass the Raiders or Vegas, so they're giving them time to get their act together. There's no other way to look at it than that. John Mark says, Mark Davis could have Santa Clara, but those red seats. Kevin KD says, all cold towns. And Kevin KD points out, even Minnesota, Indianapolis, and New Orleans. And New York, thank you. Got Super Bowls. Yeah. And I'm going up to see what comments I missed. John Santos says, Super Bowl and World Cup were all talking points about why the stadium should be built. Yeah. And think about that, John. I'm glad you brought that up because I don't know if you remember this, but at the SNTIC meetings, the SNTIC, the Southern Nevada Tourism Infrastructure Committee meetings, right? There was this talk about, well, hey, can the Raiders get 46 events, big events annually? Oh, yeah, no problem. Well, do they have a big event yet? No. Here is my prediction, however. There is one big event they will get. Taylor Swift. They get this thing together, they get Taylor Swift. Tell you. The only way they would not get Taylor Swift, and this would be a big, big, hilarious thing, is if MSG Sphere, if they took Taylor Swift from them, okay, to be the opening act at their new high-tech, state-of-the-art entertainment game-changing Sphere in Las Vegas, which it will be, okay? It will be. So Kevin KD says, even with new brand in town, the cold and awful truth is the Raiders left huge shoes to fill for its successors. Yep. And, Malcontent says, I'm still curious about that interest rate that Bank of America loan will come in at, considering the current revenue picture for the Raiders. Oh, it's LIBOR. It's whatever the London interbank rate was in March is what that will be. LIBOR. So I think LIBOR at one point was, it's like 4% or something like that. So it's LIBOR. All right. And so Jose Lopez says, Mark is using Oakland until his stadium is built. Kick them out of the Coliseum. Hey. Kevin KD says, Joel Jackson, John Marks, unless we get that, NFL in Oakland is officially finished. Yeah, I think so. I think the whole point is, you know what? sign a lease with them, get it signed on the dotted line. Don't sign any clause, or don't sign a lease that has any clause that effectively takes us out of litigation, the ability to sue. Just get the thing done, okay? If we do that, we're fools. Sign it, and then do the research regarding a lawsuit, and you know what? Once they're signed and sealed, then pull the trigger. Because the best case scenario, have them stop, you know? So you know what? This isn't going to work for you. You have some problems you got to fix. Now, if the Raiders were of a mind and had the money, what the Raiders should do is say, you know what? We don't like what we're doing. And so therefore, we're going to do two things for you, City of Oakland. We're going to give you $200 million, free and clear, and we're going to advocate for you to have a team in Oakland. That is what the Raiders should do. And if the Raiders do that and say, okay, if we do this, then you don't sue us. That's a deal, okay? That's the art of the deal, right? But that's an expensive haul. Well, but hey, it even cost them more, like $600 million, all right? So Gerald Jackson says, which is going to happen? Yes, it is going to happen, Daryl. And, John Mark says, I don't want Taylor Swift, but Carrie Underwood. I want both, actually. But see, Taylor Swift commands a larger audience than Carrie Underwood. Not by much, but she does. John Mark says, can Oakland host a World Cup soccer? Yeah. We've got a better chance than most. Why not? Absolutely. Barry Lee says, hey, Barry, how you doing? Philly Bourne says, I've never been to the Bay Area, but isn't there a space in Berkeley for Raiders Stadium, or is that 49er territory? Berkeley, by ordinance, will not allow that. That would be a total... You'd have to throw a ton of money at Berkeley. I mean, like $1 billion. All right? You have to throw enough money at Berkeley to get them to pause. Because you're dealing with a NIMBY culture there. Not in my backyard. Malcolm says, that's what I was saying 2 nights ago. First, secure the lease, and then sue for prior damages, right? Jordan Yancey says, I think they will have Beyonce. Beyonce would be huge. How about, you know what though? I mean, if you want to make this thing really huge, you know what you do? You have, instead of the either or, you get this. You have one night. You have Beyonce, Taylor Swift, Future, Bruno Mars, Janet Jackson, Calvin Harris, Katy Perry. You know what I'm saying? You just load it up, right? Make it a damn all-day festival in the stadium. That's how you do it. That is how you do it. I mean, if you're gonna do a big first thing and it's Vegas, make it freaking huge, man, and bring every celebrity on earth. Make it to where it's like the world just pauses. It's like, whoa, okay. The Raiders would have the ability with Legends Entertainment to do that kind of event. That's how big a deal the stadium is there. And only because they've never had anything like that. So, all right. And John Mark says, oh, Miss Destiny's Child. Tom Kohler says, how does anybody think the NFL, XFL be a success? Let me come back to that one. Yeah, actually I do, okay? And I'll tell you why, because there's such a hunger for football. Corey Brown says, you know, I want to see women play serious football. I really do. And I want to see women play serious basketball with short shorts. I don't like the WNBA dressing up like dudes. All right? And yeah, I said that. I don't like that. I like a different style for women. That's it. You know, why not? Why is it that when women come into sports, it's like, well, you have to look like a man? I don't want that. That's just me, okay? I just, you know. My whole point is a woman should be able to do the activities a man should do, but it doesn't mean that a woman has to look like a man. All right? That's all I'll say about that. Corey Brown says, wouldn't the Raiders advocating for Oakland to have a team imply a deal could have been made for the Raiders? Yeah, it would have implied that, Corey, but here's the problem. It's a teeter, and it's that the problem is that the Raiders felt that they could get money. Hey, Sean, how you doing? From Vegas that they couldn't get from Oakland because of the gambling issue. And that's why Mr. Davis worked in secret. That's one reason. I'm not saying he should have done it that way. I think he should have been open. Given us a timetable and milestones and said, here's the timetable, here's the milestones. I got my timetable and milestones, you got yours. And if it works out for us in a Vegas way, by X time certain, we're off to Vegas. If it doesn't, we're here. That would have been the public way to do it. In fact, should have had a press conference to do it. Made it like give it the visibility of a heavyweight fighter, like the Amazing Race. Like this scavenger hunt and everything. Okay, it's off. They're neck and neck. No, they're Oakland's ahead. No, the Raiders are ahead with Las Vegas. No, Las Vegas took a fall, right? Make it like that. They didn't do that. Okay? Kevin KD says, hold on. Why would Vegas build a Sphere if they already approved and funded the Raiders Stadium? You're just catching on to that. Because, look, Vegas isn't building the Sphere. Las Vegas Sands, who originally put the money into the Vegas, is. That's Vegas. As a friend of mine said, he said Vegas likes to do that. He said, Tony Wilson, he said, we were having dinner in Vegas earlier this year, and he said, Vegas is like, they like to do a bunch of things. Like he said, take roller coasters. The New York had a roller coaster, and then all of a sudden everybody had to have a roller coaster. And then you had some places where the roller coaster didn't open, and they had to stop, and they had to dismantle it. That's Vegas. It'll be the same way with sports. Everybody will have to have their sports, and then something won't work out. The question is, okay, that's what he told me. And if you take a look at how things are unfolding, what does it take for that to happen? It means that you have to do your thing, right? As you point out, Kevin KD, I do my thing, and our things are competing, and we have different funding sources, right? But look at Jackie Robinson when Rich Villoda from the Review Journal was on the show, and he talked about how Robinson wasn't getting his financing, but he's trying to do an arena too. What if he turns around and gets the financing? So you've got his arena, you've got T-Mobile Arena, you've got the Sphere, all in 2020 and 2021. That's a lot of competition for the Raiders. Something's gonna fall. One could say, hey, maybe Jackie Robinson's already falling, but he's got the land. All right? He owns the land. He owns the rights. That's something, all right? I think Jackie Robinson ought to call Rich Smith, who's worth $4.4 billion, Brothers, who's worth, black guy who's worth $4.4 billion, is my age, okay? Get him involved in it. That'll turn things around real quick. Because I think that Robinson is not getting a fair shake because he's black. And there are people who sort of standing around like, okay, well, maybe we'll help you. I mean, maybe we're not going to give the financing to you, but we'll give it to somebody else. He needs to get the right people behind him. That's just my gut feeling telling me that. Listening to other people talk about Robinson. The reason why I say that is because with the Raiders, I mean, you could put the same comments about Robinson. People made the same comments about the Raiders, but the stadium authority always said, oh, no, we've got that straightened out. Oh, no, we've got that straightened out. But when they made the same comments about Robinson, there was nobody saying, oh, no, we've got that worked out, which means nobody's helping him. It's all about resources, okay? And Kevin KD says, but Las Vegas Sands brought the Raiders to town. Yeah, and then they sort of backed out. I still think they're, not entirely backed out. Kevin KD says, why not help them fully succeed rather than throw a wrench into their gears? They need all the events that they can get. That's not how Vegas works. That's logical. Las Vegas, see, Kevin KD, you're asking why doesn't Las Vegas plan, right? Something I've asked for years. And I wish you, if you want, go back and listen to, if you have a chance, my conversation with Rich Villota from the Review Journal. He gave a lot of great information. I love Las Vegas. But one thing that I both love and loathe about Las Vegas is the fact that it's this entrepreneur's heaven, but they don't plan. So you can do something like the Raiders thing really quick, but there's no planning. And that's okay with them. That's okay with them. All right? You have to remember, this is a state that just elected a pimp to represent the Republican Party. You realize that? That doesn't happen everywhere, okay? I'm just saying. As John Mark says, madness. It is. It is. Straight up, it's straight up madness. And then John, okay, and hey, I'll bet you, hey, look, 10 will get you 20. I'll bet you Mark Davis knows him. I'm not kidding you. Because look, every time you see Mark Davis in a picture of Vegas, he's with what? Showgirls. So the next step, okay? All right? I'm just saying. Joseph Business says, after Trump, anything is possible, even though that is pretty nuts of Nevada to vote for that Bravo guy. Yeah. And John Mark says he's a playboy. Kevin KD says, so they gifted the Raiders with an easy acquisition to a Taj Mahal. But after the thing is built, are they basically on their own? Yeah. They're on their own now. They're getting a dwindling money. When is the Stadium Authority meeting? I think it's next week, the 23rd. Let me see, LV Stadium Authority. Let me see where things are here. Because I was about to say they're getting a dwindling amount of money. July 19th is the next meeting of the authority, which means they must have had something this week, because I see meeting, maybe I missed that. June, nope. Guess what? They skipped them. They skipped them off. They had May 23rd. So they skip and they go into July. So July 19th, Comic-Con. That's the next one, all right? And there's no background material there. So basically, we're going to go for a time. And right now, this should be the time. The Stadium Authority numbers, tax for many should be, have been announced. Let me see if there's anything on Twitter about that, okay? And my point is that they have this dwindling amount of money for the stadium tax, okay? And that doesn't show any sign of turning around soon. Hey, there we go. Oh, at the Giffords Courage dinner. Nice. There we go. That was a little photograph there. Okay. Now, let me see what this Raiders. How about stadium, hotel, tax, revenue. I should have typed revenue. Nope, the only thing I get is my stuff. Yeah, I don't get anything. I don't have any. Blah, 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 blah. I don't have any recent information. June 12th, Wynn Resort. That's me. Because been bird dogging this situation like nobody else. Okay, so I have to call, find out where things are at with that. Working backward in terms of comments, Malcontent writes, the hotel tax revenue continues to disappoint. I feel bad for the Las Vegas locals who have no idea they're on the hook for the backstop. Yep. Yeah, and it's going to come down so far down the pike, not that far. I give it another 5 years. See what happens in 5 years when things starts going like that versus the money going like that, and they get to that X. And I meant to sit down and calculate when that X is. Hey everybody, welcome to Zony62 on Thursday night. Glad you joined the live stream. Nice to have you. Please, if you haven't, subscribe. Love to have you back. We're talking Raiders, lease extension, Las Vegas, the stadium authority, home buying yards. John Mark says, oh, and speaking of San Diego Comic-Con, did you read my statement on Jamie Curry, aka Al Omega, Zenny? James Curry. Whew, no, went over my head. Tom Kohler says, and without Adelson, this will all be impossible. Correct. Malconton says, the hotel tax revenue, I got that comment. Rob Iman, how you doing, Rob? Rob says, wait until the Trump recession hits Vegas. I hope we don't have a recession. You know what? Let me make $1 million and then have a recession, all right? Just not now. Not now. Let me just get this company going, all right? Let me get an investor and then pull the trigger. Oh, yeah, thumbs up, people. Thank you. Kevin KD says, yeah, I think that the 5-year interval will truly give everyone an image on the Raiders' long-term future in Vegas. Tom Kohler says, right, Malcontent, it's a shame because when the money is out of the window, they have this half-finished stadium. That scenario is looking very real. Let me do a quick look here and see if there's anybody at all talking about Raiders naming rights. Naming rights. Let me see here. Raiders naming rights. Nothing. Nothing except me. June 4th. No. What does that say about the media when I'm the only guy talking about naming rights for the Raiders? Wow. Wow. Man, oh man. Huh. Man. Man. G. Taylor, you still there? G. Taylor, you still there? Hello, G. Taylor. G. Taylor. G. Taylor going once. G. Taylor going twice. G. Taylor is sold down the river. G. Taylor took off for parts unknown. Oh well, that happens. Okay. Moving along. Let me check on, see if there's any content. Tom Kohler says, yes, but it's possible. Look at the fountain blue. Yeah, but look how long it took. Kevin KD says, why haven't they secured a naming rights deal yet? I thought it would be a home run for them to get a naming rights deal equivalent to the public subsidy that Vegas gave them. Okay, you know what, Kevin, that's a great question. I think that we're seeing some seeds of the reasons why. To wit, no Super Bowl, granted, right? If there was a Super Bowl granted, you can take that currency and build a naming rights agreement around that alone. No World Cup agreement, no World Cup shortlist. You could take the Super Bowl and that and parlay that into the currency of a gigantic naming rights agreement. So I think we're seeing why they don't have it. Because they don't have the events that would guarantee the eyeballs that would have a corporation write a check or promise to write series of checks over the years to make sure they get that kind of money. That's what's going on. And that's plain as day, okay? You can't sugarcoat it. You can't cover it up. You can't hide that. And if you want to go a step further, how come now that the Raiders are in Las Vegas, you haven't had a single casino organization that's put their name on it? Is it because the league still doesn't want that? See? If you have to figure out and fashion reasons why this doesn't happen, it means it's a bad situation. If you don't know concretely, and all you know, you don't have it. That's it, right? What? So because then it becomes excuses. And the excuses are mounting up. Right? We got an excuse for the Super Bowl not happening. We have an excuse for the World Cup not happening. What's next? what's next, okay? And so Kevin KD says, could they wait until they get a Super Bowl and other major event in order to then finally secure a naming rights deal? Well, the way that works is, yeah, but see, again, Kevin, here's the problem with the Raiders. The Raiders, like, normally NFL teams have the naming rights secured already, okay? Or you work with a company that has enough faith that you will get a Super Bowl and other events that they do what Farmers Insurance did. In fact, it's worth going back. Cowboy Wrestler, what's going on? Rob Iman says, the people that run Vegas Bowl now want to make it feature 2 power. Yeah, I was talking about that. Yeah. And I get that. But to me, that's, compared to what they need, that's small potatoes. It's great, but it's small potatoes. Let me see something here. What I'm typing right now is Farmers. This is fun conversation. Farmers. Sam Farmer, LA Times. Farmers Insurance. Farmers Field. Excuse me. Farmers Field. Farmers Field naming rights. There we go. Farmers Field naming rights. Okay, this was written, I think this looks like a Daniel Capper specials. Stadium deal served its purpose for farmers, but knowing that organization, sports business Disneyland might have to pay a fee. No, that was not Daniel Kaplan. Okay, here, listen to this. Stadium deal served its purpose for farmers. 4 years ago, this is 2015, so we're talking about 2011. 4 years ago last month, AEG and Farmers Insurance revealed a blockbuster partnership tied to the proposed development of an NFL stadium in Los Angeles. They announced a mammoth 30-year naming rights deal valued at $600 million to $700 million. I remember $700 million. Touted as the biggest agreement in sports, Farmers Field will be the name of the 68,000-seat facility. Today, the Farmers Field deal is dead. 3 NFL teams, the St. Louis Rams, San Diego Chargers, and the Oakland Raiders, have identified Inglewood and Carson as potential stadium sites and not downtown LA, which I thought would have been huge. To let downtown LA not happen, I still think is a mistake. Downtown LA was the perfect place for NFL football. Perfect. Just saying, okay? I mean, just in the world, perfect, okay? Inglewood, whatever. Just being honest, all right? Downtown LA, ding. Oh yeah. It was a quiet end to a big deal that in 2011 marked AEG's latest coup under the leadership of Tim Lewicki, who, then subsequently went to work for the NFL. And now he's went to work on another engagement. The firm's former president and CEO. To celebrate the occasion, AEG threw a big outdoor party in Los Angeles Live, attended by dignitaries including Antonio Villaraigosa, Los Angeles mayor at the time, and a project supporter. Their message? Farmers Field would be the next step for revitalizing Los Angeles after Staples Center and LA Live turned around a bleak part of the city. The stadium would be the final piece for developing the best sports and entertainment district in North America. And see, that could be the Coliseum in Oakland, that hotel concept that people made fun of, that penciled out and would given $2 billion to the Raiders in cash, free and clear. My idea. That was the idea, okay? Keep laughing. Cha-ching. At the time, Farmers Chief Marketing Officer Kevin Kelso said, this is going to put Farmers up as a brand and get exposure at a really high level, and that's attractive to us. We saw the potential for that project to revitalize downtown forever and really wanted to be a part of that. And the Farmers Field website was still, I wonder if the Farmers Field website is still up. Hold on a second. It says, but for all those wrapping their arms around Farmers Field, there was one glaring omission: the absence of an NFL tenant to fill the stadium. No worries, Lewicki had told Farmers officials when he asked to look past the void. Whom he asked them to look past the void. Hey, there's no, they would say, hey, it's like the Emperor. The Emperor has no clothes, but the Emperor's saying, oh, it's okay. I got a great suit coming along. Based on the strong business relationship between AEG and Farmers Insurance, two LA-based firms, Farmers officials went along with Luigi's vision. They could have sued for fraud. For years, Zurich, Farmers' parent company, great insurance company, already provided insurance coverage for the venues AEG runs worldwide. In addition, Farmers had smaller sponsorship deals with the NHL Kings and MLS Galaxy, two teams owned by AEG owner Phil Anschutz, and sponsored international soccer matches at StubHub Center, then known as Home Depot Center. The relationship between Farmers and AEG remains, but several principals involved in the agreement, including Kelso and Luque, have departed their companies. All right? Other Farmers Insurance executives that embraced the deal also left or shifted their roles in the company, including Chuck Browning, the former head of sponsorships, events, and corporate giving, is now Farmers' head of agent and customer experience for personal lines. And so the Farmers Field Partnership vaulted Farmers to the front of the pack in brand awareness without, listen to this is what I was telling you earlier. The Farmers Field Partnership vaulted Farmers to the front of the pack in brand awareness without them having to spend a dime. Nothing, okay? So basically, I mean, this is a great article. It's Sports Business Daily, okay? What the lesson here is, among everything else, is that deal came about, like most deals, because of great relationships. All right? So what are we knowing, or what do we have to say, excuse my grammatical error there, what does that say about where the Raiders aren't? Again, excuses. The Raiders don't have the great relationships to make that naming rights deal golden early on in the process. Note, Farmers was willing to cough up, or pledge to cough up, which they never had to do, $700 million, and yet there was no NFL team. They had already signed on the dotted line. The Raiders have no such comparable agreement. Not even a whiff close. They can't go back to Farmers and try to reconstruct it. Why? The players that did that, as you heard me say, they're gone. Cowboy Wrestler says, having lived in LA before, I know the area very well. I always thought that Davis and Spanos were high on something for considering that spot in Carson for their stadium. ML Scott, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? Kevin KD says, did the Falcons secure the naming rights deal before they began the construction of Mercedes-Benz Stadium? Yeah, they secured it. Actually, it was kind of like in between. They started building it, and that came just after they got the Super Bowl, is when that came. That was, that came after they got the Super Bowl. So they were awarded the Super Bowl when I was there. And that was in Houston, okay? And they're awarded the Super Bowl, excuse me, in Charlotte. They're awarded the Super Bowl. That was NFL Spring League meeting. That was 2016. That Atlanta was awarded it. Wow, time flies. They got that thing built quick. But they're awarded the Super Bowl. Actually, they got it built before that. But by let me check here. Atlanta Falcons naming rights. Just so I'm not talking out of my tail end, okay? Falcons sell $900 million in stadium sponsorships, report says. It's a 27-year naming rights agreement. That was November 29th, 2016. All right? Mercedes on target with superlative about Atlanta naming rights. That was 2015. It was 2015 the Falcons announced it, excuse me. So they got the naming rights deal before they were awarded the Super Bowl, which Falcons officially announced Mercedes-Benz as naming rights partner. That was 24 October 2015. They didn't get the Super Bowl until 2016 in Charlotte. So, because 2015, the NFL Spring League meeting, which is where Super Bowls were awarded, that was in San Francisco. All right, I was there as well. So, Atlanta Falcons owner Arthur Blank announced as expected that Mercedes-Benz, a corporate newcomer to Metro Atlanta relationships, right, has bought the naming rights to the $1.4 billion stadium under construction downtown. So it was already under construction, and they got it. So from that measure, the Raiders are behind. There are a number of instances. What about MetLife? Let's see when the MetLife thing was done, all right? Let's see. NY Giants, MetLife, naming rights. Let's check that, okay? We've got MetLife. This was August 23rd, 2011. MetLife signs naming rights deal with Jets and Giants. And let's see, MetLife Inc.'s deal to do that. Now, let's see, MetLife Stadium. They did that August 19th, 2011, right? So let me just say MetLife Stadium. MetLife, excuse me, what I'm typing is MetLife Stadium opening. MetLife Stadium opening April 10th, 2010. Okay, so here's a difference. MetLife Stadium opened April 10th, 2010, but they didn't get the naming rights agreement until a year after. So there's some relief for anybody who's a Raiders fan in Las Vegas who's thinking, oh, we're not going to get it done. Okay. So that happened a year later. They opened the stadium, and then MetLife signed. All right. And here's a story about it. It says, one after another, MetLife was asked to buy a stadium and naming rights each time and said no. Nothing was better year after year than having the MetLife blimp. And they made a big leap when they became one of the 4 cornerstone partners at New Meadowlands Stadium. The home of the Jets and Giants was still in. Oh, whoa. Hold on a second, all right? This is a big piece of news. This, what I'm reading here out of the New York Times is August 23rd, 2011, right? But this article by Richard Sandomir says this. MetLife made a big leap beyond Peanuts characters and airship advertising a few years ago when it became one of the 4 cornerstone partners at New Meadowlands Stadium. The home of the Jets and the Giants was still in the blueprints at the time, but Hirschhorn thought that owning the equivalent of marketing real estate at the stadium was worth the life insurer's investment of $7 million to $8 million a year. So, but on Tuesday, MetLife said it took the next step and it acquired the name of the stadium. So they had already been in partnership to become one of the what's called founding sponsors. Just as Porsche is a founding sponsor, United Airlines is a founding partner as well. In the case of Atlanta, they're in the stadium here. In the case of Chase Arena in Oakland, San Francisco. The United Airlines is a founding sponsor, a founding partner. But they didn't put their naming rights on it. Chase bought that. What MetLife did is MetLife was already a founding partner or the equivalent, but they just said, let's go ahead and buy the whole thing. Point is, The Raiders have no comparable announcement of a founding partner at this point. Okay, so they're still behind. They're behind the 8 ball right now. They're not where they need to be. They're behind. They're behind. All right. It's 131. I'm gonna stop at 145. I'm going to go back. Phil Bourne says, if I'm not mistaken, didn't the Mercedes-Benz Superdome name belong to the Saints first? Yeah. The Saints had the same name as well. You're right. They did. Kevin KD paraphrase, those who do not know their history are doomed to repeat it. Yeah. Black Lion says, one love. How you doing? John Mark says, yes, and looks was having the Raiders. Kevin KD says, yeah. But Jets and Giants in New York is a much bigger draw than Raiders in Vegas. Black Lion Supreme says, what's the good news? We're talking. Kevin KD says the relocation was not planned well at all. What a shame, man. It wasn't. They just did it. Okay? And not only that, the guy that they just did it with, they tried to double cross, and he turned around and said, all right. I still think that was a little of an act, Sheldon Adelson going out the way that he did. And I think that they did it because had they not done it, the Raiders would not have had the votes to be able to come to Vegas. And I think Adelson did that. I believe they crafted this. I believe that with every fiber in my body. All right? I really do. And Cowboy Wrestler says, Malcolmson says, John Marks, yeah, let's hope not, but beware. The article report was from nationalmortgagenews.com. Cowboy Wrestler says, Mercedes-Benz in Atlanta, at the moment, I believe, is the best venue in the NFL. You haven't been there yet? Get over there. Kevin KD says, underperforming public subsidy, huge extra public infrastructure and parking, and no naming rights deal. I guess the strategy with the Vegas Raiders stadium is going along and wait and see. Yeah, it's very much piecemeal, all right? And Kevin KD says, and I mean huge infrastructure and parking costs. Philly Bourne says, yeah, I got your comment, Philly Bourne. And Rob Iman says, not a lot of corporations in Vegas. That's the other problem. Not a lot of corporations in Vegas. A lot of them are coming out of bankruptcy or financial problems. You have some people coming out of, sexual harassment issues. It's not the situation you want, okay? Kevin KD says, so if Adelson's family eventually buys the team, can they improve the fortunes of the Raiders in Vegas? Yeah, but that's a big if, okay? I mean, I wonder under what scenario that would happen. Because the NFL would have to approve that. I know Jerry Jones would allow that. He wants it. But I think at this point, the other owners would just have to say, well, look, you're already in Vegas. What the heck, right? That'll be interesting. Tom Collar says, yeah, the Raiders are just dancers. Adelson is holding the strings. I still feel that way. Ken KD says, Tom Collar, that Davis will just likely try to sell the team to his family in the next 10 years. Hey, T. Cooper, the champ is in town. The champ is here. Oh, man. How you doing, champ? Go Warriors. Malcontent says, if Sheldon Adelson is truly out of the Raiders stadium deal, why did he invest in MSG Sphere? Because he's truly out of the Raiders stadium deal. Why would you eat your own seed corn, right? There's the sign. It's kind of like, hey, unless, now you could take that another way. You could say, hey, wait a minute. He wants to own both, which would be pretty huge and possible. Kevin KD says, I think that the only real option for the Raiders is survival. The Raiders need Adelson to survive out in the desert. The Raiders need that stadium finished. I mean, for all the talk, look, and I remember I was talking with McKibben, and he said it better than I could. He said, they're going to be the belle of the ball when that stadium is open because everybody's going to want to dance with them. Because not just in Las Vegas, But in Nevada, that's the only huge game in town. And it is Las Vegas. No, it's not New York, but it's Las Vegas. And Las Vegas is an indelible part of American culture. Cowboy Wrestler says, it baffles me why the Raiders would leave the sixth largest media market in an area with a variety of F500 companies to a place where which does a lot of bankruptcies. Not smart. I think it's cultural. I'm going to spin a very controversial opinion in a second. John Akula says, do you still think the Raiders Stadium will not be ready in 2020? I still think the Raiders Stadium will not be ready for a full NFL stadium in a full NFL season in 2020. I believe the Raiders Stadium will not be ready for a full NFL season in 2020. And I will repeat, I believe the Raiders Stadium will not be ready for a full NFL season in 2020. No, I said a full NFL season. Okay? Not a half-ass season, a full one. Because then how are you going to play? You're going to play part of your games in the Coliseum and then you're going to play the rest in Vegas? I mean, it's doable, I suppose. But why not just, instead of doing it that way and getting in a situation where you're paying the city of Oakland half a lease? Because that's what the Raiders would do. They would say, hey, our stadium is ready. Up, we can't pay you. Bye. Okay? The Raiders would have to prove they don't do that. Because there's too many instances of bad faith behavior. Too many. So my fear would be, hey, I don't want you skipping town on me in the middle of the season. I want you to commit. If you're here for the whole season, don't, and this is what McKibben ought to be saying. Don't, and the board, hey, don't stick me in a position where I've got you for 4 games of the year, and then you're off to Vegas, and I got to figure out what to do with the rest of those, dates that you didn't tell me you didn't need. And now I've scheduled them and I'm stuck. All right? It should be you're either with us or you're not for 2020. If the option is there, the option needs to be made clear that, hey, you are here. It's not like, well, we're going to be here for 4 games. What? Just stay, play out your string. If you want to have a shakedown cruise game in one of the stadiums or something like that, fine. One of the days, fine. But play out your string in Oakland. Give them the money. For some particular reason, I feel that that's a possibility. I think that's a bad situation. John Mark says, what happens if the NFL players vote to strike in 2021? Off the top of my head, I would say, hey, no season, no money. Rob Wyman says, I would not trust that B of A. They don't have a good reputation. Well, B of A is fine. It's not B of A, it's the problem. Kevin KD says, Rob Wyman, B of A gave the same loan to the Falcons. Difference between the Raiders and the Falcons paid off their loan like that. They took that $1 billion in sponsorship, paid it. No muss, no fuss. There's money around here. Tom Cola says, when I look at the webcam, I think it'll be ready in 2020, but I think it will be stopped after the hotel room taxes and going up. That could happen. Phil Born and Raised says, well, actually, it won't happen. You know why? It won't be stopped because the taxpayers are backing it. The taxpayers sign their own obligation like that. So there you go. Rob Leo, welcome. How you doing? Rob Leo says, for the first time, I'll answer your question. There's a lot of uncertainty there, okay? Phil Bourne says, play half your games in Oakland and the other half in Vegas. That would be ridiculous. Yeah, it's kind of like, what? To Las Vegas Stadium. 2020 is not that far away. let's see. Let's take a look at where we are with respect to Twitter would offer us the best photos of where they are at, at present, right? So let's find out. Raiders Stadium. Boom. Okay, 8 hours ago, photo project. That doesn't tell me much. That's a wall. I need an overhead. See if I can get an overhead. Okay, latest. Let me get photos. This is nah, it's still too close. I can't tell anything from that. I need an overhead. This is somewhat better. Morning safety meeting. Still doesn't tell me anything. I saw that one before. Okay, this is better. All right. This one, okay. There. That is where they're building. They're starting to build some. Those cranes will be for some of the erection of steel. For concrete rebar is where that should be. See if I can get because you see where the materials are here. Yeah, that's rebar for concrete and for the foundation. So they're starting to work on the foundation. That's not for, that's not the seating structure. So they still got a long way to go. That's, when you know that they've got a long way is when they've actually excavated out the bottom and it's smooth and it looks like a bowl. Like LA Stadium, all right? The difference between this, let me show you where LA Stadium is. Inglewood Stadium. Okay. This is where LA's Inglewood Stadium is. See that? That's when you know you've got something, right? Okay. 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 Look at that. That's when you know, as they say on the street, the shit's real, okay? That's Stan Kroenke. It's coming along. Jared Goff, go Bears. And that's Stan Kroenke. Okay. See around, see it back here? All right. So come next year this time, that thing's gonna be finished. Okay. Almost. That's a lot of stadium. That's $5 billion right there, boy. Whew. It's a lot of money. More comments. And then I'm gonna stop in a few minutes here. About 5-10 minutes. Malcolm says Kevin KD. That's because they actually have the money T. Cooper says, hopefully lower that public subsidy by another 100 million. Malcontent says, as long as Sisolak doesn't win, I would be happy, honestly, because at least I know someone would start doing something about the schools in Las Vegas. I think Sisolak's going to win, though. Well, actually, you know what? No, probably not. Laxalt. But I'm a Democrat. Okay. Hennessy, do I think Mac will get paid? Yeah. Let me put it this way, they better. Okay, if they don't, they're going to have a big morale problem on their hands because of the money issue. And that will also expose that there is a money problem if they can't pay him. Because add it up, you got this low-hanging fruit financial approach for the draft picks, and then Khalil Mack unsigned. Just saying. Okay? Just saying. John Mark says Mark Davis needs to take a class from Dave Cavall. It wouldn't hurt. Wouldn't hurt. Black Lion says if there's no possible way to stop the move to Vegas, the Raiders need to leave now. Malcontent says, yeah, T. Cooper, yeah. I think it will be Sisolak versus Laxalt in November. Well, actually, it will be. That was decided Tuesday. Yeah, that's decided. That's done. Okay. So in fact, did you notice how the media didn't cover the Nevada races or any of the other races on Tuesday? The political media just ignored it, and they talked about Trump. Get it? Robert Leal, I got that one. That is comment. Okay, folks, because I've got a busy day tomorrow. Sofa King says, will Oakland see another football team after the Raiders leave? XFL, baby. Yes. 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 Joseph Brinsman says, hey, Zinni, the good news I want to tell you about a friend of mine from high school. Her name is Daphne, graduated there with PhD in biomedical engineering. She gave the commencement speech. Congratulations. Biomedical engineer. That means she's going to make the next bionic woman that destroys us all. Just kidding. Just kidding. She's going to marry 6 different guys, kill them all, and then get rid of the rest of us. I'm just kidding. One of them will be me. Anyway. Malcontent says, I think the Raiders may need to ask other stars to restructure their deals to find the money to pay Mac. I have to review that. Joseph, because I haven't, honestly. Bismuth says, according to her Facebook, she said less than 1% of African-American women obtain that degree. Pretty proud of her. You know what? I'm pretty certain that there's not a high percent of any particular person that obtained that particular degree, let alone black or female. I'm pretty certain that if I looked around for white women, the percentage would be pretty low too. But I'm not saying that's not a tremendous achievement. Quite the contrary, it is. But it is rare, period. I mean, tell her friend not to sell herself short. She's just smart. Don't make it like I'm smart for a black woman. No, you're just smart. Period. All right? That's because that's what it sounded like. Well, I'm smart for a black woman. What? No. You're smart, period. Don't even think like that. People who have biomedical engineering degrees, PhD, are not growing on trees. Let's face it, they're not. Okay? All right, back to the point. Nice. Congratulations to her. Raiders out Oakland, says Cowboy Wrestler. John Mark says, watch horror films, keep America strong, which is the sign that we are closing this bad boy out for tonight. Great conversation, folks. Congrats, Joe Bensman. Congrats. Good night, everybody. Hey, a great number of people tonight on a Thursday night. I'm jazzed. That was pretty cool. So, good night, everybody. See you Sunday. Changes in the menu, all right? Joseph, do I expect they will announce a lease extension? No, because what happens after that is the Raiders have to say, oh, this looks good, and they have to take it back to the Raiders, and then it's done. What we're looking for tomorrow is if they come out, which if they say, or let it come out, hey, that, we like this, so we're going to move forward with it as it stands. Or if they want to make changes, they'll make some changes to get back to the Raiders. So let's see. See you all Sunday. I'm out. I'm out, folks. I'm out, folks. See you all. See you all. Will I do a live stream? Yeah, I'll try to be there. It won't be tomorrow. But yeah, I'll try. Or I'll have Richard Hike or somebody go there. Yeah. Good night. See you all. Thanks again. See ya.